west of Durango are beautiful. And there's more of them to the north even as well. But I am headed to the hospital to bring Terri some stuff. And I have been starting or meaning or thinking of doing a video, and then I end up not doing it. So today I'm going to do the video. So this started a couple of weeks ago, and Terri and I have been isolated here in Colorado. And I think we've been really super well isolated. For 3 weeks, we had no contact with anybody. But Terri did get a cough and started getting run down. And so I couldn't help but begin to wonder if she somehow didn't get the coronavirus. And I had started to get sick a couple weeks ago. And I've had this for several years where I'll start to get a cold or something, and then the next day I'm just fine. It was like maybe it was allergies or whatever, but I usually know when I'm getting sick and can tell it's coming on. I'll have a stiff neck or something, and then sinus drainage, and then boom, I've got a cold, So anyway, for whatever reason, the last several years, it's been very rare that I have anything go beyond a day. And so I got it in my stupid fucking head that, hey, maybe she's got coronavirus, and maybe I just got lucky and was kind of semi-immune to it or whatever, and just had it go away like I have colds go away. Well, it kept going on that Terri just kept getting more and more lethargic. And, they describe that as one of the symptoms of just being exhausted when you have this virus, COVID-19. Infection. So I decide, and Terri is super averse to ever going to the doctor, man. It's like you have to force her pretty much. She's got to be on her damn deathbed before she'll go. So, in my infinite wisdom, I used to design and sell oxygen systems for small aircraft. And so I knew about pulse oximeters, and pulse oximeters are, a little thing you put on your finger, gives you your pulse and your blood oxygen level. And so they used to be real expensive, but now they're dirt cheap. So I decided that, hey, I'll go get one of these things and I will test Terri's oxygen levels, because if they're low, you've got to be put on oxygen. So I went to Durango and decided to go out in the world. I put my mask on. I had a neck gaiter I used as a mask, and headed out to do our grocery shopping because we were getting low after 3 weeks. And I was going to get Terri a pulse oximeter. So I went to the pharmacies in town, no pulse oximeters. Went to Walmart, and of course they were out. Everywhere I went, you could see exactly where these things had been on the shelf. But because of this pandemic, smart people are grabbing those things up in case they need to check their situation, whether they need to go to the hospital or not. So I'm leaving Durango, and I'm starting to get really worried about Terri. So she just isn't getting better. So I'm leaving Durango, and I talked to my daughter-in-law, who is a nurse practitioner, and I'm already about a third of the way back from Durango. It's about 40 miles. And my brilliant daughter-in-law tells me, well, why don't you see if they have a compounding pharmacy, because those aren't the kind of places people normally go. Okay, so I pulled over and did a Google search, and sure enough, Durango had a compounding pharmacy, so I got them on the phone, and sure enough, they had pulse oximeter. So I drove back as quickly as I could, got to that pharmacy. Not only did they have the pulse oximeter, they had hand sanitizer and they had real masks. So I stocked up on stuff that we would need, and headed back with this pulse oximeter. I tested it on myself, and we're at high altitude, so my saturation ran like 96 to 95, kind of fluctuated around in there. And so I knew it worked, right? I got back to the RV and I put that goddamn thing on Terri's finger, and yeah, it was bad. So I called urgent care, and I gave them her numbers, and they said, because I thought I better get her in there, and her blood oxygen level on that little meter was reading under 60, and the lady at urgent care said, no, you need to take her to the emergency room. So of course I'm telling Terri, who is now just weak, that, hey, you gotta go. And she's like, no, I'm not going. So I told her that, her choices were either I'm calling an ambulance or she can get in the car and I'll drive her there. Those are the two choices, And so she agreed to let me drive her there. And I helped her into the car, and we get started, headed towards Durango, and the urgent care calls back and says, just call an ambulance. Well, by the time an ambulance would get there at this point, we're already on our way. I just went ahead and took Terri, in there. And so, yeah, they got her in, got her admitted on Saturday. And so she's been in the hospital ever since. And they're convinced, even though I don't think they've actually tested her, they're pretty sure that it's not actually coronavirus. And unfortunately, it appears that she's got a weakening heart and has just been gradually deteriorating because of that. So that's the bad news. We're old. Shit happens, But the good news is that she's responded really well to oxygen, and they're trying to get a couple other things back up to normal for her. And it didn't take a whole lot of oxygen, actually, to get her back on track. So they think that with some dietary precautions, some perhaps medication, and maybe oxygen, especially when we're in Colorado, that she's going to be okay. And then when we get back to Wisconsin, there's a possibility that maybe she won't even need oxygen. But the reality is that when you get to this point in life and have heart troubles, they rarely get better over time. But that's where we're at. So my wishful thinking that maybe we had gotten COVID and we're getting over it was just total BS. Just, you tell yourself crap you want to believe, and then, it's not what you think, But all in all, it's a beautiful day, so hopefully I can spring Terri out of the hospital, because she's getting pretty miserable, and I think she's ready to be home. So anyway, we'll do a little update as time allows. So it's back to the hospital, and I have high hopes that I'm going to spring Terri out of this place today. I've got an oxygen concentrator in the back and an oxygen tank for the drive home. So knock on wood, we'll get her out of here. And I know she'll be happy about that.